You are watching the DocTalk show.
In our depression future story today, she was an aspiring nun, but depression led to several bouts of mental illness, and her dreams were shattered.
I am Nakasumba Jenny Francis, a person with mental illness, and I have suffered for it for 40 years, since 1978 up to date. I have been admitted in Butabika Hospital 3 times. That was for the first one in 78, the second one in 79, the last, which is still the last, in 1985. After senior 4, I went to Gogonya Convent, and when I was left with a few days to become a nun, the sisters saw me that I was not sleeping well. I started walking in the compound, speaking with the words which were not combined, and they said that Jane may have a problem. So they rushed me to Mulago Hospital, and those of Mulago referred to me to Butabika Hospital, and I got my first admission in Butabika Hospital in 1978. I recovered, they discharged me, and went back to Gogonya Convent with the sisters. But after that, the next year, in 79, the relapse came back, and they brought me back to Butabika also, because I was taking some little beers, like 2 to 3, and I was going in such places, like walking these singers at night, and I have to sleep at late, and taking beer when I am there, and also going to places which can lead me to depression. I got another relapse, the third one. That was in 85. So when they discharged me in 85, I got my medical form, and reading on it, there was a word bad, and the doctor told me that bad doesn't mean that you look bad, but it is an abbreviation of the word bipolar affective disorder. The stigma which I got is when the sisters told me that, Jane, that you organize your parents to come for you, you will no longer become a nun. The things which have helped me to cope with this illness, first of all, I accepted myself. The sickness, I accepted it. Seek for advice, doctor's advice, as to take medication. And I have just retired this year in January. And the way I have been working, I have not experienced stigma. They have been loving me. We have been sharing our eats or drinks without discriminating me. I thank God for that. Apart from government work, I have a side income. I make gomesses, I make school uniforms, and other things which they bring. So, my fellow other patients, before, if you get your studies and finish them, you can start such a business. Don't just sit at home, but do something to earn the living. I ask my fellow other patients to try to fight stigma as much as you can. Me, what I have seen, I have kept myself clean. I want to thank His Excellency, the President of Uganda, the Minister of Health, the Director of Butabika Hospital, Dr. David Basangwa, her deputy, Dr. Naku, the principal hospital administrator, all staffs of Butabika Hospital. On my behalf, I am so very, very grateful for the way they treat me without stigmatizing me and supporting me in my recovery. I am so very grateful for your services. May God reward you abundantly.
You are watching the DocTalk show.
So, Biama, depression is that persistent sadness, state of sadness. But what do people with depression present like? What do they look like when they come to you to hospital? How do you tell that someone has, such and such a person has depression?
Most prominent of which is this persistent sad mood, and usually going along with a loss of interest in what one usually derives pleasure from. Along with that come other signs and symptoms, and these generally affect one's whole being. One will have problems sleeping. Usually it is a persistent also lack of sleep or interrupted sleep, though in certain cases they might also oversleep and they sleep more than usual, going along with a lot of like feeling like you're easily fatigued and you're tired most of the time and you can't explain your tiredness. And
so lack of sleep, we're talking of someone goes to bed and cannot sleep.
Yes, they go to bed and they take time to sleep, or if they sleep, they wake up and cannot be able to get sleep. So they have really, for most, in most cases, they struggle to get sleep and sleep well, such that they might spend their time in bed, but when they wake up in the morning, they feel that they've not rested well. They feel they haven't had a restful sleep. But like I said, in some cases, they might also sleep too much, but still feel unrested. They have problems with their appetite. And in most cases, this comes along with progressive loss in weight. In certain instances, again, they might eat more than usual. Some people, when they are going through a difficult time, like is in depression, they have low body energy, they feel easily fatigued, and they cannot explain why. They are losing weight because they are not eating.
For these that are overeating, could they have more energy than usual, or they still overeat but still have less energy?
Yeah, just like you said, they overeat but they still have less energy, because depression makes you, with all the low mood, loss of interest, you have less energy. Though you're eating more, you actually just gain weight, but you don't have energy. They become increasingly withdrawn from other people, isolate themselves, and are not able to do what they would ordinarily do. They are functioning. What they do ordinarily, whether it's their occupation, studying, becomes affected, and they are not able to perform those duties as they ordinarily do. And then, like we said, these symptoms come over time and they come together, and then progressively the person, as they continuously feel sad and lose interest, they might become hopeless about their situation. They lose interest in life. They feel helpless. They feel they cannot be helped, and many times that's when they withdraw. They feel like they are burden to others, and in the most severe forms, they actually feel like maybe it's not worth living. Maybe it's better that I died, and that's when they get ideas of committing suicide.
So would these people on an ordinary day, would a family member know, would they tell people that they are planning to commit suicide? Or because we get so many people saying, I'm going to kill myself, I'm going to kill myself, should we consider that those people are depressed?
Yes, we should actually consider that this person is going through a lot of distress, that they are feeling very sad to the point that they no longer want to live, and shouldn't take it as something that they are saying for the sake of it. And it's actually like Dr. Juliet will tell you, in our profession, we take it as a very serious concern when someone says, I think I should end my life. But even before then, how the family member would, recognize that this person, because someone doesn't just wake up one day and reach this point where they feel like giving up on themselves. Like we've said, progressively someone becomes distant, looks unhappy, is no longer eating as usual, is no longer performing their duties as they would, losing weight, they look like they are constantly unwell, they're happy, sometimes they are continuously crying, and there's this, they are surrounded by sadness, and somebody can feel it. However, many times, those of us who are around them think that someone is going through a difficult time, so the best thing is to
let them be, so that you do not
but instead so that they don't disturb them. And also depression, by the very nature of its symptoms, tends to push people away because they are irritable. They're like, no, don't disturb me, and then they keep to themselves. They don't talk much. So many people withdraw. So it requires that this support where they, like we shall probably see later, where we actually reach out to them even against that negativity.
Every time you hear someone promising to die or to kill themselves, everybody out there needs to take them very seriously, because depression is the commonest cause of for anyone wanting to kill themselves. There are other causes, but those can be a discussion for another day. But every time you hear someone promising to kill themselves, they better be taken seriously and be taken for help. The chances are they have a depression until proved otherwise. Okay. So for everybody to understand, this is a critical sign that needs to be picked up everywhere it is met with.
Thank you very much. And we don't want to get to the end and say someone committed suicide when they have told us several times and informed some people, I'm going to commit suicide, life is no longer worth living, and we let it go like that. And in the end, we just say we give them these 12 strokes of the cane and go out with it. So thank you very much. So far we've learned what depression is, what the signs and symptoms are, and also learned that it's such a big burden, but we actually don't give it a lot of support. So when we're back from the break, we'll see risk factors. Who is at the highest risk to get depressed in society? Who has that higher vulnerability to get into depression? Remember to follow us on our social media platforms, on Facebook and on Twitter. Send in your comments, and we shall be able to respond to you.
You are watching the DocTalk Show.